Hi foodies. So the reason I don't ever feature myself while I'm making my food is not only for, brevity, but I mean, look at me. I'm an idiot. I love playing with all of the effects, so it's very distracting and it takes away from the food, and the focus is the food, not me. Anyway, my little backstory on this particular soup, albondigas, is a Mexican meatball soup. I like calling it Mexican wedding soup because it's sort of like my Italian wedding soup. Anyway, so I'm going to add to the 2,598 million albondigas recipes that are already on YouTube for the sake of my kids being able to come to my channel to find family recipes. Of course, that's what initiated this whole thing. But I've watched most of them, and I took the best from all of the ones that I've watched, and I think found the perfect mixture of ingredients. So I'm starting out with ground beef and some onion and garlic. This is for the meatballs. So like I said, this is a meatball soup, so it's very similar to the Italian wedding. There's some cumin, and I'm using cilantro. Now a lot of people traditionally in Hispanic kitchens use mint, so I did find a workaround for that. You'll see I didn't really want to put the mint though in the meatballs. Now here I'm using breadcrumbs. Some families use the masa flour, and I'm putting in uncooked white rice, which is also a traditional ingredient, and an egg. You can also throw some very minced potato in there if you want, but I think with the breadcrumbs sort of substitute for that because I'm going to be putting potatoes in the actual soup as a veggie. So I'm just putting in salt and pepper now. Salt and pepper here. And mixing with my very clean hands that I washed. And now I've made these meatballs much bigger than the ones I did for the Italian wedding soup. These meatballs are, I like them for this particular soup larger. And in the Italian wedding, I like them smaller. So now I'm making the base for the broth. So I'm using Roma tomatoes in a blender. And you can use any blender. I'm using the NutriBullet here. It's kind of a juicer blender, but that's okay. You can even use a food processor if you don't have an actual blender. There's a cube of beef bouillon, and of course the chicken bouillon, which is more of a flavoring agent than it is chickeny. A tomato sauce, and I'll tell you what, that chicken bouillon is a staple in many Mexican dishes. Some garlic cloves, and some white onion. I told you guys I'm addicted to it. Probably the MSG, but I don't even care. Did I say onion cloves? What the heck? And 2 chipoltes, which you can't really see me putting in adobo sauce. And then I just put in a little extra sauce. Added a little bit of water. Oh, can't forget the cumin in here too. And of course I'm just going to blend that all in until it's blended. And I did keep the noise factor down for you. Now I put a little bit of vegetable oil in, and I'm going to pour the sauce into the pot and heat it up in the oil before I add just plain water. And I'm going to get the water, I'm going to clean out the blender, put the water in the blender so I can get all of the rest of the sauce out of the container there. I'm mixing it all up. And that's why the water looks like that, because it's actually blender water. And we're going to let this come to a boil. I'm putting in about 8 cups, 8 to 10 you can use. We're going to let this mix come up to a boil. Oh no, we're not. I forgot. No, we're going to put we're going to put the meatballs in just like you did with the Italian wedding soup. You don't need to pre-brown these. You're just going to throw it right into the broth. Then we're going to bring it up to a boil. As you can see, they floated to the top, so they're pretty good. And now I'm going to add my veggies. So here's the potatoes, and I'm going to put in some carrots. These, take longer to cook, so they go in first. And I'm going to let these, and some celery, because I like celery in all my soups. So I'm going to let that come to a boil again, another 20 minutes. And then I'm going to add Mexican squash, which is, like Mexican zucchini. And I like corn in mine, so I'm adding some corn. You can add whatever veggies you want. You can make it your own. Make it good. Now there's my workaround. There's some mint and I'm using a little tomato bouillon there. But I put the mint in the broth, let it flavor for, you know, the next 20 minutes, and then I fish it out before I serve. And then I like mine with some cojita cheese on top, and there you go. Yay!